How long were you guys married before the infidelity started?
March 11, 2013.
You're very specific.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
It was through social media. I received a long message from this young lady. She inboxed me. She knew my name, she knew his full name, his birthday, and she said, I don't think you're aware, I don't think Kendall mentioned to you that I'm pregnant and I'm due next month.
Okay, wow. So the affair starts, and so what did you attribute it to?
I thought it was me.
Okay.
I thought it was because I didn't have experience. I felt numb.
Yeah.
For a long time, I felt numb, betrayed, neglected.
And I want to tell you this, and anybody who's been in this situation, you're not stupid. You just thought that you could have the right to trust somebody within a marriage where you took vows. Don't beat yourself up like that. All right. Praise God. Welcome to another edition of Your World. I'm host Creflo Dollar, and I believe today's program is going to hit home in a big way. You know, odds are that most of you watching are either married or have been in the past. Or maybe you're single looking for the special someone. Regardless of where you are, you've probably experienced or been around a marriage or two that seemed headed for disaster. The truth is that marriage was created to bring a man and a woman together to reflect the beauty of Christ and His church. But no matter how much you want your marriage to work, without the right tools, it can quickly get off track and end in the sad pit of divorce. Now, when things get tough, the questions that most married couples ask are, can we make this work? And is it really worth it? Well, I say yes, it is worth it. Your marriage can be beautiful and withstand the tough times. And I'm going to show you how to do it, how to get your dead-end marriage back on track. And we'll start by meeting today's guest. You know, adultery, deception, and mistrust has infiltrated their marriages, this particular marriage, which has truly come off of the rails. So can this marriage be restored? Well, you're going to find out right now on today's episode of Your World.
Changing one life, time after time. Oh Lord, we do it all for you.
Through the trials I see, I'll always believe a new life starts with you.
Oh, change your world today. Change is gonna come your way. Change and get an understanding. His grace will transform you.
Today, I want you to meet Lisa Johnson. She married in September of 2008, and yet just a few short years later, they are currently living apart because of Kendall's adulterous behavior. And Lisa has expressed that without a miracle, she sees no hope of ever reconciling. Now, we don't know today where things will end up, but I know God's going to bring grace to Lisa today. You know, marriage is a serious institution that has been ordained by God. It is something that God put in place, obviously, for a reason. One of the reasons, I believe, is that it eliminates weaknesses by exchanging strengths for weaknesses. And when people get married, wherever that husband is weak, he's marrying someone that's strong in that area. And when they come together, it eliminates the weakness. Marriage is also something that will help you to develop and grow out of selfishness. And if the marriage didn't get it, when you have children, they will guarantee you that you'll be delivered out of selfishness. But one of the things that I learned a long time ago dealing with my wife, Taffy, I understand now that how she treats me is none of my business. My business is how I treat her. And that's so vital in life when people can begin to understand that it's none of my business how she treats me. Well, you know, she was mean to me, or well, she did this to me. No, my business is how am I going to treat her? And the same thing is true with Taffy. It's none of her business how I treat her. Her business is how she treats me. Now notice, self is not there anymore, and as a result of it, then we're going to be able to accomplish some things. But so many people get involved in a marriage out of emotions only. I love you, I'm crazy about you, and we need to talk about how are we willing to live together, to treat one another, to honor one another, to respect one another, to accept one another, to grow with one another. And sometimes as a result of it, or not knowing these things, then infidelity comes into the picture, and the marriage breaks, and it really never had a chance because the people in marriage didn't understand what it takes to work that marriage out. Marriages have to be worked out. They don't work out on their own. And so you have gone through a very hurtful, painful situation here. And I want to start off with how did you meet your husband, and did you think he was the one? What was going on the inside when you met him?
When I met him, physically, he was the one that I thought of as a husband. He was tall, physically fit, he was an athlete. And also at that time, when we started talking, he would ask me to pray for him. And that's a strong area for me because I always love to pray for others.
So he's met your physical requirements, and then by asking you to pray for him, he's met your spiritual requirements.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So when he asked me to pray, and I would pray for him, and he would send me scriptures to stand in agreement with him, I was like, oh, okay. And he would ask me to pray in tongues. I'm like, oh, he prays in tongues too. Great. And we dated for 3 years. And when I graduated college,
Y'all dated for 3 years?
Yes.
Now let's help everybody here. I have this little thing about the 100 question dating process. That's where you make a list of everything you want to ask him. Is Kendall your real name? What's your middle name? What's your father's name? What about your mom? Tell me about your granddad. What about your relationship? Do you have a job? Do you plan on keeping the job? Do you know how to cook? What do you do when you get angry? It's an opportunity during the dating process to, do you want to have kids? How many kids you want to have? To begin to really get to know that person and to put a lot of things on the table to begin to really evaluate it. Now, dating for 3 years, that's good because, you're giving it time to know some things and to grow together, and a lot of things you'll get a chance to see. How does he relate with other people versus relating with you? And so I came up with 100 and something questions that you can ask throughout this dating process so that you try your best not to have any surprise. What's your favorite color? All these different things, the traumatic events in your life, the things that you would know so that you can really make some good decisions. Now, in light of what I'm saying, how close did you come to doing some of that in the 3-year dating process?
I would say as far as his family history, no, I didn't get too deep into that. I wish I would have, because I think that would have saved me. Well, I don't know. As far as later, I know his mom would tell me about infidelity on his grandfather's side. I didn't address that while we were dating. I thought we discussed everything. And it was clear communication is key, but we didn't have a lot of that in the marriage. We didn't really go into what is it like to be intimate in the marriage. And I felt like because I got married as a virgin that I needed to be prepared.
Now, did he know you were a virgin when y'all married?
He did.
Okay.
And I think he kind of used that as a crutch in the marriage, now that I think about it.
In what way?
We had a sexless marriage, and then he would use the fact that I was inexperienced. When it would come time for us to be intimate, he would be like, okay, you're just too spiritual. You want to pray before we have sex. Who does that?
Now, was that like that in the beginning?
Yes, very in the beginning.
When you were first married,
Yes.
there were problems.
Way in the beginning.
And so, what did you attribute it to?
I thought it was me.
Okay.
I thought it was because I didn't have experience. What I took on my part, okay, since I don't have experience, then there's YouTube, there's Google. So I took it upon myself.
Well, there's YouTube, there's Google, then there's a husband.
And there's a husband.
Yeah. And the neat thing about it is to begin to develop those experiences together, to begin to, because sexual relationship is also a time for communicating with one another, talking about what you like, what you don't like. And as you spend that time communicating with one another, sharing with one another, then you begin to custom make your time of intimacy with one another. And that's the real power of this first stage of being together in marriage, is that you are custom making the time of intimacy that you spend together. Now you're telling me that that didn't take place in the marriage, that you don't feel like you spent enough time developing that intimacy in that marriage?
We didn't. It came out as if I was nagging all the time, and I felt like he wasn't really doing anything about it to change that fact.
Yeah, and did you get to the point where you looked at yourself and said, something must be wrong with me?
Yes.
We move up to that point, and then here's the news that happened. How long were you guys married before the infidelity started?
March 11, 2013.
You're very specific.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
There was through social media. I received a long message from this young lady. She inboxed me. She knew my name. She knew his full name, his birthday. And she said, I don't think you're aware. I don't think Kendall mentioned to you that I'm pregnant and I'm due next month.
Okay, wow. So the affair starts, and this woman gets pregnant. What were the emotions that, of course, hurt? What were you going through emotionally? I want others to realize what you're going through as we come out of this. What was that like?
I felt numb.
Yeah.
For a long time, I felt numb, betrayed, neglected. I think what really, really hurt me was not only that he was making excuses that, okay, I was inexperienced, but when we would get intimate, he would just basically, nothing would happen. We were not able to get intimate because either his leg was hurting or he was too tired. So there was always an excuse when it's time for us to get intimate.
And you're blaming yourself. It must be me.
Yeah, it must be me. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm not attractive enough. Maybe, and then I would just go and learn different things to, impress him and please him. And so when I found out, I was like, okay, so it wasn't because you had a man problem that you weren't coming up. You were. You were just, with somebody else.
Which hurt more.
Yes, because I was getting natural stuff to get him to come up. It was just, I'm like, wow, how could I have been so blind?
And that happens with women a lot. They feel like, how could I have been so blind? I feel stupid. How come I didn't see this? It's right in front of my face. Okay, so we're getting ready to take a break, and I want to kind of come back and encourage you about your future.
He's live,
God getting ready to turn some things around in your life.
sometimes direct,
How many believers do I have in here right now?
and always anointed. Creflo Dollar, streaming live from Atlanta and New York City, Saturdays at 6 p.m., Sundays at 10 a.m., and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Stay connected, no matter where you are in the world. Creflo Dollar's just a click away. Catch him live 3 times a week at CrefloDollarMinistries.org.
Welcome back. Now, Lisa, you're freaking out. You're numb, you're hurt, you feel betrayed, you feel unattractive, and you decide to go to counseling, right?
Yes. I felt numb at the time, and I couldn't even pray for myself. We decided to have counseling. We did. It didn't last long. Up until September, I found out through social media again.
Now, this is the same one that was pregnant, right?
Nope,
Oh, see, this is a different
this
one.
is a different one
Okay, so this is another one. So we're at 2 that you know of.
that I know of.
Okay, go ahead, finish.
So I kept blocking her, and then I finally asked him, because it was right around the time we celebrated our 6-year anniversary. So I asked him, I said, why is so-and-so? And I said the name because she, wanting to follow me. And he said, no, don't do that. She's affiliated with the baby mama. She just wants, and in our relationship, she just wants to come and destroy our marriage. I'm like, okay, you fooled me once. You're not going to fool me twice. So I was spending time with God. And I was led to unblock her and follow her. And I saw them together. Pictures, kissing pictures, videos, and they were recent. And he worked at the gym, working out together. And I was like, oh, that's why he wanted me to block her. Okay. I was like, okay, so we're in marriage counseling, but yet you're still out messing with another lady. So
Okay, so now where are you now? Where are you emotionally?
emotionally,
Yeah, I mean, I know the part came up. I'm stupid again.
yeah, it is.
Because
And
you're concerned about, a lot of things. You're sexually transmitted disease.
yes,
You're concerned about, your emotions at this particular point. I mean, and I want to tell you this, and anybody who's been in this situation, you're not stupid. You just thought that you could have the right to trust somebody within a marriage where you took vows. Don't beat yourself up like that. It's almost like a sexual assault. It is never the fault of the victim. It is always the fault of the predator, always the fault of the one that did. Now, in marriage, of course, we have different things we both have to work on, but ultimately it becomes the responsibility of both parties to make sure that we honor this marriage. I mean, the Bible says that marriage is honorable to all and the bed undefiled, and that we honor that marriage at all costs. Can restoration take place? Yeah, it can, but I mean, how many times are you going to hurt and destroy emotions and think you can just continue to go back to do that? You find pictures, what do?
all I could think about was somebody trying to get killed. So you know what? I'm not gonna do that because I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna go to jail and I have a life ahead of me. God has a purpose for me. And you know what? I'm just gonna let him leave.
Yeah, but even as a Christian, you had those thoughts, right?
Oh yeah.
So we can't
Oh
stop.
yeah.
Sometimes
I had pictures of, thoughts of snipping stuff and
yeah. Yeah. And the thing that I really appreciate about this show is that we have an opportunity to go into your world. And you're a born again Christian, and there are issues that happen even in our lives. I mean, we can't stop the birds from flying over our head, but we can stop them from building a nest in our hair. And I thank God that you had enough of God on the inside of you to really overcome those negative emotions, because negative emotions will lead you down a road that when you get there and calm down, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I allowed myself to turn my life over to my negative emotions. So I congratulate you on that. Go ahead with your story.
Thank you. So I told him, you had to go. So go to your parents. And he was like, do you want to talk about it? And I said, no. And he just left. And that was that. So when he left, he kept calling me and I never answered. And his mom called me and wanting to know what happened. And I explained to her what happened. And she was like, I didn't know my son was so weak. And I said, well, you better be glad he's still alive.
Because you're hurting, right? You're hurting.
Yes.
So where are you guys today?
We've been separated since September, and we're still separated. And as far as I know, no, there's no future for.
So you're
this
saying
marriage.
there's no hope of reconciling this
I've
marriage?
had enough. I've had enough.
Do you think he loves you still?
I don't think so. He keeps saying it, but I'm like, okay, if that's what love is, then I don't want it.
Let's look at you for a moment. What kind of damage you think occurred through this process, and how is it maybe hindering you from going forward?
I feel like I'm picking myself back up. So I feel like when I came with him, I was whole. So now I feel like, okay, now I have to get back to being whole. And I know, of course, Christ makes us whole, but as far as everything.
Yeah. Your spirit and your soul and everything coming back together. And I imagine you've gone through a tremendous amount of stress as a result of this. Do you think you'll ever be married again?
I still believe in marriage.
You believe in marriage? Because a lot of times people go through this and they just don't believe in marriage again. And it's good that you do believe in marriage. What would you do differently?
I would ask more questions. The list that I thought I had, it will be revamped, and I would go more into family histories, generations, and then of course I would, I guess I will just really, because I thought I trusted God and with this marriage, but I think now I would really, really allow God to lead me into who He has in store for me.
Do you believe that there are some natural things you need to pay attention to? Thank God for the spiritual things. I believe in the supernatural. I believe that God puts His super on our natural and we live supernatural lives. Well, kind of hypothetically speaking, what would you have needed from Him in order for this marriage to be able to work?
To really show me that He loves me.
You needed some affirmation of
That
that
He
love?
loves me. Yeah. Not just say it, but I really want to.
Yeah, and affection.
Yes.
Let me say, first of all, affection is not sex. And a lot of times people think that it is. It may be a part of it, but affection involves a lot of, concern. How are you doing? Hugging, genuine caring about a person and what they went through and really enjoying one another's company, And so you wanted to see more of that. You wanted to be loved. I mean, that's a basic human need. I'm so sorry that you had to go through what you went through, and now is the time for you to really tap into the grace of God, that there's more grace available to you than all of the problems that you've gone through. I want you to understand that you still have a purpose in your life, and you don't ever have to, exploit yourself or ever get to the point where you feel like, I've got to tolerate something in order to have a relationship with somebody else. You should have standards, and you should carry yourself in a way that's befitting to the woman of God that you are. So you're going to be all right. There's enough grace to handle everything that you've gone through, and we're pulling for you, okay?
Thank you.
Now, Lisa, I want you to make sure that you understand you have a future. It's not over. But I also want to make sure that you're not drinking poison hoping somebody else will die. And what I mean by that is maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but you and God continue to work on forgiveness because it's just so important. I mean, when you don't walk in forgiveness, you give the other person power over you, and you don't want that to happen. And it's painful, it's hurtful, but that's the thing that we always pursue, is to a life of forgiveness. And other than that, you do have a future, and your life is not over. And the grace of God is available to cause all kinds of things to happen. And I don't want you to carry on this mentality that you'll never be able to trust again, that you'll never be able to love again. And you don't want to move into a fear-based lifestyle where you're so fearful about things like this happening again that you find yourself just pushing away people that maybe God sent them to you to be a blessing to you. I believe that marriage is an honorable institution of God, but it takes work. It takes work to work the marriage, and we've got to be careful that we don't assume that the problem is always with somebody else. I mean, you can get a new job and move to a new city and have new friends, but the only problem with that is that the old you keeps showing up. And what you want to do is to make sure that the old you doesn't show up. And so people make mistakes, but it doesn't have to be the end of your life. And people go through a lot of unfortunate situations, but it doesn't have to be the end of your life. God's grace is available to take you up out of a pit of hurt and pain, place your feet on a solid ground, and to show you that there is a future that is bright and that life is not over, and you can take the hurt and pain and use it to minister to somebody else. I pray that you got something out of this program today, and that it will help you to know that life is not over. As always, I'm thankful to be able to bring real world solutions to you each week on Your World. Adultery is real and the pain is devastating, but you can recover if you are or have dealt with it. And to help, I've assembled a set of resources to help you deal with the emotional and spiritual battles that this type of betrayal brings on. My announcer is coming to tell you all about it, and I'll be right back.
God created marriage as a blessing, a relationship that would demonstrate His unfailing love for you and all of His creation. But the reality of marriage in our day is different. Just like Lisa's story, marriages are failing every day. What God created as a blessing has become a prison for most couples as they struggle to handle the pressures and frustrations of building a marriage that lasts. But there is hope today. Your marriage and the married couples you know can be transformed through activating the power of grace. And listen, it's not as hard as you think. Creflo Dollar has made this principle simple and easy to do with his all-new life course entitled The Grace-Filled Marriage. Now, there's no more wondering about the tools necessary to build a successful marriage. This standout course has removed all of the guesswork as Creflo equips couples with everything they need to create a thriving relationship based on God's grace. First, the course kicks off with the insightful teaching, The Fulfilling Marriage, on your choice of CD or DVD. The content of this 4-session workshop is proven to have a significant impact on any marriage. You'll be captivated as you learn the practical steps to release grace in your marriage, establish a lasting purpose at the center of your marriage to withstand every storm, identify the steps to quickly deal with conflict, and so much more. Then, the course continues with the principles revealed in the easy-to-read guide, Fight for Your Marriage. In just a few simple pages, you'll discover the steps to protect your marriage against failure. And this book reveals a vital principle that most couples are never taught: what to do the minute you know your marriage is in trouble. These resources create a journey that will take any marriage to new levels of joy and fulfillment. And the course is designed so you can experience it together with other couples in your home, church, or small group environment. But here's the best news of all. The Grace-Filled Marriage is available exclusively on this broadcast for your gift of only $45 to the work of Creflo Dollar Ministries around the world. And as a bonus gift, you'll also receive a DVD of the program you saw today, plus the marriage Q&A session with our studio audience. You didn't see this portion in today's broadcast, but you don't want to miss it as Creflo answers some of the toughest relationship questions head-on, raw and uncut as only he can do. So, that's the entire Grace-Filled Marriage life course, including The Fulfilling Marriage on CD or DVD, the mini-book Fight for Your Marriage, and a copy of the program you saw today, plus the exclusive marriage Q&A session for your gift of $45. You and those you know deserve a healthy marriage that lasts. Don't wait. Call now.
I hope you'll call and take advantage of the special collection I've created for you. I prayerfully put it together because I know that through grace you can recover from the betrayal and pain that adultery brings. There is hope, and it starts with one simple phone call. Listen, connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or online at yourworldwithcreflo.com. Now, it's time to take some questions from our audience, but don't forget, I want to hear from you. Tell me what you think. I want to hear what you have to say about today's program. I'll send you some stuff that's going to really bless your life, and I believe that God's going to make a gigantic change in how you live. We love you so much. I'll see you next time right here on Your World.
He's live,
God getting ready to turn some things around in your life.
sometimes direct,
How many believers do I have in here right now?
and always anointed. Creflo Dollar, streaming live from Atlanta and New York City, Saturdays at 6 p.m., Sundays at 10 a.m., and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Stay connected. No matter where you are in the world, Creflo Dollar's just a click away. Catch him live 3 times a week at CrefloDollarMinistries.org. Your love and financial support make it possible for this broadcast to be seen and heard on 6 different continents. We thank the partners and friends of Creflo Dollar Ministries for making this program possible.